Hey everybody, this is Ryan McClanahan with HistoryThroughCards.com. I hope you're all doing very well today. So this is going to be my very late review of the 2026 National, which is now come and gone about a week, and better late than never, right? I actually started a video on the National, another review video, and I didn't like the way it turned out. So hopefully this is the new and improved version of my review of the National. And this actually makes my fourth National, the first one being in 2004. And I was also at the 2022 and 2025 National as well. Everybody who's at the National is going to have a different review and different take on the National. And it doesn't really matter how many times I think a lot of people have been there. It's, I think, always going to be something of an experience and something that can be very overwhelming. And no matter how many times I've been to the National, I've been overwhelmed every single time. Now, a lot of people, you know, they have complaints, they have pros and they have cons about the National itself, and everybody's complaint, for the most part, I think is going to be somewhat similar. I'm going to try not to really complain. There's a lot to complain about in the world, and so it did everything that I experienced there turn out to be roses? Absolutely not. But I was actually there without a cane for the first time in 2 years. And so for me, this national is a little bit different just because I was under my own power and I had built up enough strength where my leg would not give out. And actually, it only gave out once, and I was very fortunate. I felt comfortable enough where even despite all the crowd there, and it was packed, especially on the second floor, I still felt pretty comfortable enough to walk around where I knew enough that if I had any issues to step over to the side and kind of like take my time. But I was only there for about 2.5 days or so. So something like this, you need more. I would say that if you're there for research or if you're there to talk to friends and whoever, people that you may only see like once a year, uh, this was the perfect opportunity, I think. Maybe. So again, I was off my cane, which is was a personal goal of mine, and it's just taken a very long time to actually recover. Because again, if you're new to my channel, I do have cerebral palsy, and one of the things, the beautiful things about that is that I get a different perspective on life, and things for me, and the hobby is a lot different for me than it is for a lot of other people. You know, waking up the next day is a blessing, and you know, a lot of people in the hobby, they discuss and they banter back and forth about all the things that are wrong in the hobby, and for once, you know, I'm at a show where a I am grateful that I get to wake up every morning because you know life is really short and you know it's not guaranteed that you're gonna wake up the next day. I hate to be like morbid like that, but you know reality kind of sets in, especially when you're a disabled person. You know, like I just give thanks that like I have a hobby which I really enjoy. B, I've met so many great people. Really enjoy talking to other collectors and dealers about their stories and what information that they can give me, and maybe what information that I can give them as well. And so it can be actually very difficult to try to locate friends and family and whoever at this show because it was so crowded. So I made it a point to tell people that I wanted to hang out with or wanted to hang out with me to meet me at the front. They made it very easy. And so while I was there, I did come across a T206 Wagner, which I did get to hold, as you guys can see here. Now, I also did get to see these two gentlemen here, Dustin, the personal sports car dad, or is he the personal finance dad or the personal football dad or the video game dad. Dustin wears a lot of hats, and I'm not sure which one is which. But at one point in time, I think I lost Dustin, and I didn't see him again. So, Dustin, it was nice to know you. If you did get to go home safely, I hope you did, bud. But it was really great to see Dustin, and obviously Michael Golden here, who has his own channel, and Michael is a really great singer. I did get to walk the floor with both of these guys, and not only that, I got to go to a YouTube get together at Shoeless Joe's, and I met for the first time a lot of really great YouTubers. Now, as much as I don't like to do videos on my own, it's not really the fact that I don't like to do videos. It's the editing that really bugs the hell out of me. It's not very efficient. Or at least I am not very efficient, and so I did get to see Theo Clemente Collective for the first time, and Ryan from Breakout Cards, and I also met Orlando from A Collector's Dream. Again, I met him in 2025. And Jeremy Lee, I got to speak to again. Really tall dude. He's got a great channel too. I really enjoy his stuff. Also, Jake from Wax Pack Wisdom, a fellow New Englander here, and he's got a great channel. And he also has a hit list with Matt from Providence, and those guys are awesome. I really do enjoy talking with those guys, and I get to meet them at least once a month too, being here in Massachusetts as I am. And then I met Michael Ham for the first time, and I also bumped into Mike Junk Wax Hero, and his pickups were awesome, as was Jake Waxpack Wisdom. Both those guys had some great pickups. It was really fun to see some of the stuff that these guys were able to obtain. It also was very inspiring too. I get a lot of inspiration from Mike Junk Wax Hero because he's got a great collection. And then Sammy Thunder, it's always great to see you, Sammy. And then Victor, the rookie card specialist, always great to interact with him. He's got a great channel too. And then Flipping Steve, I met for the first time, as well as Mookie Chilson. And I didn't realize that Mookie actually knew who I was. So it was kind of interesting. And then John Mangini was always he's always interesting to talk to, and he's got a great collection as well. And I really like to interact with a lot of these people and just kind of see what they have in their collections. So that was a really great time. And I think Wade Boggs fan John, I did briefly see. But I didn't get to I didn't get to speak to him because he was in and out. I kind of wish I had talked to him for a bit, and I'm sure there are a few others there I didn't get to see either, which was unfortunate. But the thing is, being at a show like this, as you guys can see here in these videos, there's so many people, there's so much to do, and my head was on a swivel 24/7. It was just amazing. There was no way that I could have stopped at every single booth, which I wanted to do, but there wasn't any way. It was impossible to do that. I saw things there that I have never seen before, and I'm sitting there taking notes and taking photos of some of these amazing things, and I wanted to show you a little bit of that here today. So I'm going to be a little brief here, and try to be a little more concise, as it is not the easiest thing for me because I do like to ramble. First, the jerseys here. I'm just going to go through a few of these. This was a section, I believe they were up for auction. Um, Pardon me, I forget exactly what auction this was. I was so kind of enamored by the jerseys themselves and the memorabilia that I think it was Heritage. So the first was the St. Louis Browns jersey here. This jersey is actually from 1946 to 1951, and you'll see them on like your 1950, 51, and 52 Bowman cards and Topps cards. Really neat jersey. I you know I do like the St. Louis Browns history, specifically from like 1936 to like 1942. is the time which I really like to study that team. But they have a really interesting history. And my grandmother was a fan of the St. Louis Cardinals, and I once asked her if she ever went to any Browns games because the Browns and the Cardinals shared Sportsman Park, and she just said the Browns sucked, or well, she said that they stunk, and so she never really liked to see them. She was a Cardinals fan, so I think you were either one or the other. I don't think you were both. And then this Roberto Clemente jersey was really cool. I'm a big fan of Roberto Clemente. I have probably 11 of his cards. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to go for a complete year by year run. The 1955 tops, it's not my favorite card of his. I really don't like that card. The 56 is my favorite card. And surprisingly, the 1962 and 1968 Roberto Clemente are really great cards. And the 57 is not bad either. But everybody has their favorite Roberto Clemente card. And those just happen to be mine. So I'm not sure if I'm actually even want to try to go for a complete run. I think I'm missing like 6 cards altogether, but I'll have to double check. The next here is the 1942 New York Giants Johnny Mize. I did an article on Johnny Mize's 1941 double play a couple of years ago, and you know that that to me was really eye-opening. Just because he sued over this card from 1941, but the jersey itself is really cool, and I think I may have seen one once before. But these are the kind of things that you're going to see at the National. Again, Ron Santo, I have a little more respect for Ron Santo now than I did when I was a kid. I looked up his stats and I'm like, this guy's not very good. But then I had spoken to a buddy of mine who's in his late 90s who actually did see Ron Santo play, and he kind of agreed with me a bit. And a lot of people say he's like defensively he was great, and that's why I think he's in the Hall of Fame. And I do have a number of his cards. I would have to say that my favorite Ron Santo card would probably have to be the 1963 Tops and the 63 Flair. Other than that, and I'm not entirely sure what else would be like my favorite Ron Santo card. Anyway, so Eddie Matthews here, I think this is the late 1950s. I want to say like 1958 or so. It's a really neat jersey, and a lot of the stories I've heard about Eddie Matthews comes from Johnny Logan, who knew him quite well and played with Eddie Matthews here, and his stories were like fantastic. Pound for square inch, Eddie Matthews was probably the strongest player in the National League, and I would say Mickey Mantle was the strongest player in the American League. But Eddie Matthews, I yeah, I want to say he's kind of like overshadowed maybe by Hank Aaron, and he's not really talked about enough, I think. Okay, so this Brooks Robinson jersey is really cool. I'm a big fan of Brooks Robinson as a person and as a player, and I am actually going for a complete year by year run of his cards. Uh, I think I'm like missing like 2. I have his rookie, and oh my God, if I told you guys I paid $30 for his rookie card back in the day and $40 for that 1958 nonsense, I was really not happy about paying that much for the 58 tops Brooks because the card makes him look like a doofus. But Brooks was an awesome guy. In fact, he was so good to his fans that his family had to tell people stop sending in for autograph requests when he was quite frail, but he did anyway. So he was quite the guy. And then Lou Alcindor, this is really interesting. At first, I was like, what is this thing from? And there's little cards down the bottom that tell you exactly what was what. And then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the name he went by, I believe, in 1972. Uh, just noticing his 1972 tops. Although between both of those cards, the 71 and 72 tops, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Lew Alcindor, I'm not sure which one I like better. I think I like them equally. They're really cool. And then Paul Hornig here. I don't think Paul Hornig is talked about enough as a player. I did meet him in two separate occasions, and I thought he was a very nice guy. And so he was signing a lot, and he was talking to a lot of fans, and just a very gregarious guy. So Paul Hornig was actually banned from the NFL for a year for I believe he was attending a card game and gambling, obviously. But he wrote a letter to the NFL apologizing, and I think he did that publicly, where Alex Karras never apologized for it. He was also banned. Karras being inducted posthumously into the Hall of Fame, whereas Paul Hornig didn't. But a lot of people, uh, they might not realize that about Paul Hornig. And obviously, his rookie card is in the 1957 Topps, which is an absolutely fantastic card. You know, the 57 Topps set has at least four really amazing rookie cards in it. I'd say five because you have the Dick Night Train Lane as well. And so a lot of those cards I did see at the National. I saw a lot of stuff at the National, which I have not seen before, which is one of the reasons why I highly recommend if you haven't gone to the National yet, just go. And you're going to be overwhelmed at first, but I think it's going to be well worth it. So there was also something here too that I saw this Our Navy by Allen and Genter. And what's kind of interesting about this is it's prior to the Great White Fleet of 1907 through 1909. That instance is kind of like right where our T-206 was. But the Navy in the 1880s and early 1890s was in such horrific shape that you had about 140 vessels where 52 of those vessels were only seaworthy. Like that's it. And then they had to overhaul the entire navy. And so this I think has to do something with that to kind of show people that we did have a quote unquote modern navy in the late 1880s and 1890s. And there's only one ship that I'm aware of that was launched in 1892 that's still around as a museum, and that's the USS Olympia. And I want to say that I actually was on that ship. I want to say the early 1990s is when I visited it. It was really cool. And so, funny thing too, back in the 1880s and 1890s, we still had Civil War ironclad ships that were still in service, and these things were dreadful. They were absolutely awful. If you're into naval history, you can read up what it was like to be a sailor on one of those things. But anyway, that was really interesting, and the dealer was kind of swamped with a lot of collectors, and so I only looked at a few pages. This card is really interesting. This is Wilson Bud Foster. He was born in 1914 and passed away in 1988. He is in the Radio Broadcasting Hall of Fame in California. He was the announcer for the Oakland Oaks of the PCL, and he had a 40-year career as a broadcaster. What's kind of interesting about him is I tried to find information on him several years ago so I could do a video, and I really couldn't find a whole lot. He does have at least three cards that I'm aware of, and I haven't seen this. This is 1949 Remar Bread, and again, he started out when he was 19 years old in broadcasting. During World War II, he was an NBC war correspondent, and he was injured in the European theater, and then he was also injured in the Pacific as well. and then he came back and he became a broadcaster for the Oakland Oaks of the PCL and also the San Francisco Seals. He called games for the NFL, San Francisco 49ers, and then later on for the Oakland Raiders and the Oakland Athletics as well. So he's kind of well known, but I really kind of enjoy just studying up on the PCL and the Oakland Oaks is really interesting. Their their 1940s teams because they did win a few championships, and one of those championships was I guess helmed, if you will, by Casey Stengel, and that's where the Yankees. That's where they found him. In fact, Casey Stengel, he was a manager back in the late 1930s and 1940s. He didn't do well. He just wasn't a good manager. I believe with the Braves and maybe another team or so. And he was down in the Pacific Coast League when the Yankees found him, and he really kind of brought the Oakland Oaks back from, I guess, extinction, if you will, because they really weren't a good team until he came on board. And then after like the 1948 season, he went over to the Yankees and won 5 championships straight for the Yankees from like 1949 to 1953. But all that time, Bud Foster was the guy calling those games. And I haven't heard his voice, so I would like to hear a game that he's called. But I thought this was really interesting. And he also called the first televised Rose Bowl in 1951. And he is a posthumous inductee into the Broadcasting Hall of Fame in 2007. And he won the Apollo Club Award for the top broadcaster in 1952, 53, and 54. That's throughout the United States, by the way. So he was that good of a broadcaster. And another another really interesting card here is a 1961 Topps dice game, Brooks Robinson. And I'm a huge fan of Brooks, but I was like, hey, this is really cool. I wonder how much it costs. I wonder what the price tag is of this. So I looked at the card, and as you guys can see here, there's a portion of it missing at the bottom. So I flipped it around and I saw the $40,000 price tag, and I'm like, oh my God, you could buy a car cheaper than that. And so there goes my dreams dashed by that price tag. And actually, I think I think that's actually kind of cheap for these cards. They are extremely rare, and there was a number of those cards, as you guys can see here. It's an 18 card dice game, if you will. I think it's from Topps, but it was never released to the public. And several of these cards escaped from the factory, as they say. But I'm not entirely sure how that occurred. I don't think anybody does. There are certain instances where you do have some true rarities that have made it into the public eye from Topps and other companies issuing sports cards. This is one of them. These are very, very rare cards there. So this was really interesting to see. There was a mantle several years ago, I believe, in a PSA 1, which sold for $400,000 at auction, just to give you a sense of what these cards are actually selling for. There's nothing in the back that says it's from Topps, but I believe it's believed that they are from Topps, and they did wander out of the company gates, if you will. How that happened, I don't know. I don't even know why they didn't release these cards to the public either. I think they're kind of neat, to tell you the truth. So this is really great to see. Also, really, really interesting. 1980 Topps Byron McLaughlin autographed. You're probably thinking, who the heck is Byron McLaughlin? And, that's a good question. I actually did a video on Byron McLaughlin, and I've never seen an autograph in person of him. He is one of the rarest autographs of the 1980s, and he's got just an amazing story. Basically, what happened, if you don't want to go over and listen to the video that I did on him, real quickly, he is responsible for 40% of all the shoe forgeries from Mexico. He was a baseball player for the Mariners and like a pitcher, and so he was also a forger of sneakers and shoes and stuff. And he went on the lam, and they've never caught him. They don't know where he is. They don't know if he's still alive or what. But really, one of the more fascinating stories of baseball history, baseball lore, is Byron McLaughlin. And he did flee the country. I think he went to Mexico, and then I think they found, or they think they found, that he went overseas to I think France, but they've never caught up with this guy. He could be dead for all we know. We just 45 years on the run, or so. It's just that's a hard life, and if he were on the straight and narrow, who knows, like, what would. He was a smart guy, but something about the guy just. But I'd recommend, if you guys want to listen more about this gentleman, Byron McLaughlin, you can go over to my channel and just type in, and you'll find it. I had a lot of fun actually doing that video and doing the research on this guy. Again, I've never seen this card autographed in person, and I had actually thought about trying to secure this card, but I think the dealer wanted something like $1,500, and that's probably a good price actually. But the problem here is that a lot of people just don't know the significance of that card. And had I not actually done the research and done the video on this guy, I would have just kind of gone right by the card and not even think twice about who it is, or why it had a price tag of $1,500. For the average person, that probably doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know. Maybe I kind of regret not buying that card because I don't think I'm gonna see another card like it. You never know, but I don't think so. Another really interesting autograph that I saw right next to it, in fact, was the 1959 Topps Curt Flood. He actually paved the way for free agency early on. He basically ruined his career because he challenged the reserve clause, and during a time when nobody else did that. Well, he paid for it with his career, and I think he died in the late 90s. He's definitely somebody who should be in the Hall of Fame. He has these statistics legitimately to be a Hall of Famer, but what he actually did for baseball, I think, goes beyond that, because it's also labor into labor law, and the Supreme Court also picked up his case, and you have a really fascinating story all with him. Unfortunately, he did lose his case, but Andy Messerschmidt picked it up. He was a pitcher, and he went in a different direction along with Marvin Miller too. And I did a video on that particular case. So he again should be in the Hall of Fame. I didn't actually bother to check how much this was going for. I think he's obviously done more autographs than Byron McLaughlin ever did, but he's such a monumental figure in baseball that I probably should have just bought the card. I don't know. Maybe I'll see another one. I know they're out there, but I wanted to show you some of this stuff, and there's a lot more here. This early basketball was really amazing. I played basketball in high school, and I can't imagine playing with something like this. The rules of the game were vastly different, and I think they revamped the rules in like 1936, and they introduced the shot clock in 1954 to speed up the game. It was just a completely different game, and kind of like how baseball evolves. I think baseball is an ever evolving game. So too, I think, is basketball. There's also a bunch of golf balls here too, as you can see that were from, think one was from 1866, and I think these were all like handmade at the time. I don't think anything here was in mass production, so I can't imagine playing golf, with this equipment today. But they did, and it's here on display, which was really, really interesting. Then you have Larry Frisch. I'm gonna mess this up, but it's Visala Oaks, 1983. Kirby Puckett is here on this sheet, and it's, I think, one of his earliest cards that I've never seen this. This was really interesting. That's one of the reasons why I'm showing you guys. He only played 138 games during his only year with this club. And again, like, I've never seen anything like this, but it doesn't surprise me that Larry Frisch would actually produce something like this, because he did stuff like this all the time. Produce these minor league cards like this. In some cases, it's the only way that you're going to actually see a certain ball player, whoever that ball player is. Um, some minor leaguers just don't have anything other than Larry Frisch's cards. So I think he is actually kind of something of a pioneer in that regard. And then here is a 1911 C55 Newsy Lalonde, and you'll see the price tag is $800. I saw this at the very end of the show, and at that point in time, I had already purchased quite a number of cards, but I man, I kind of I don't know, 50/50 is hindsight, or 20/20 is hindsight. Is that what it is? Yeah. I kind of regretted not going after this card, because he is a pioneer of his sport, and I'd never see this card. This was fantastic to see. And not only that, but I did get to see what I think is a complete set of C55s, and the 1909 version of the hockey version of the T206 right next to it. And these were pasted in a scrap album, it looks like. But I've never seen that many C55 in one place. And so I do have a surprise, actually, when I show you my cards that I picked up. These are really beautiful cards, and they really, I think, do represent the era in which they were printed in. All right, so here is a Leroy Neiman artwork, a bunch of them actually. Leroy Neiman is he's not my favorite artist, but he is someone who is very well known, and he does have an autobiography out there that you can read about his time with Playboy magazine and celebrities. And at the time in 1946, when he just came out of the military, he was painting like this, and at the time nobody else was doing what he was doing, so it was kind of revolutionary. And so I can imagine just how amazing it was for people to see Leroy Neiman's work for the very first time. As he got older, though, I think his work started to deteriorate. I think his early stuff is great. His later stuff, not so much. Personally, he's not my favorite, but I understand the historical significance of Leroy Neiman's work, and it's still quite expensive, actually. Another thing that I noticed here too, for the first time, really, I didn't have no idea that there was 1971 Mattel Scooby-Doo cards and Peanuts cards as well. And this was like kind of eye-catching, really. I wasn't expecting anything like this. So it was fantastic. And I might actually do a video on both of those. I think Peanuts is a little more historical than Scooby-Doo is. Now that I know that these cards actually exist, then I can go and do a little bit more research and try to find a few. Here you have a bunch of 1962 Topps football in high grade. These cards are really notorious for chipping and centering issues as well. The design is really like early 60s. I think it's great. Yeah, I've seen a lot with roller marks as well and print streaks, and that really kind of detracts from the cards. I like them, but not to the point where I like 1971. And I know that probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but in my mind it does. I really do like the 1971 Topps baseball. Again, those suffer from the same issuances as the 1962 Topps. Another thing I thought was really interesting here was the 1933 DeLong Lou Gehrig. And I've already inserted this into an article a long time ago, so I'm very well aware of what's going on in this particular photo. If you're not aware of it, I'll just tell you right now. This particular photo is from a game in which Lou Gehrig was facing the Philadelphia Athletics, where he hit 4 home runs in 1932, and he was about to hit a fifth home run when Alice Simmons robbed him. And again, that would have been like amazing. But Al Simmons is another Hall of Famer that nobody really talks about these days. But his batting averages were just amazing. And what a great ball player. I'll probably talk more about him in the future. But that's where this 1933 DeLong is coming from. It's from a very famous game, in fact. And when you look at that, I can understand where a lot of people might not exactly know what its history is. There are so many cards here that a lot of times you could pass by a card and not know anything about it, which I did actually. There were a lot of football cards or soccer cards here from like the 1930s, which I had never seen before, and I have just started to collect vintage soccer cards back in 2022 after my trip to the National, and that was the first time I actually ever saw any of those cards before. It was really interesting to see them here. Another really interesting card here is the Gene Beliveau rookie, and I was really thinking about buying this card. Uh, I had an opportunity last year to purchase it. It's a very expensive card, but it's also a card that don't think I would ever buy raw, just because I know the history of the card and the fact that it can be very difficult to distinguish an original from a reprint or a forgery. If it's blurry, it's going to be an old reprint, but with newer printing technology, that might not be the case anymore. I would say just be very careful buying certain cards. Study up on the printing technology of the time in which the card was issued, and just do your best. I know it's not easy, but there are certain things that you can do to avoid getting scammed. Sometimes it just takes experience to figure out whether or not a card is forged or if it's legitimate. Also, I did I do something that really kind of surprised a dealer, and maybe even Dustin, the personal sports card dad, back in 2022. I actually smell the card too, because there's certain things that you're going to notice with a vintage card, and that is the smell that it gives off, and it's something that a modern reprint or forgery cannot duplicate. And so uh, I think that kind of like threw off a couple of people when I started to smell the card. But that's one of the things I do. I also use a black light and a gram scale as well as a magnifying glass. The tried and true adage is the more cards that you see, the better off you're going to be. And the less likely that it is that you're going to run into a problem buying a forgery. Now, I know that these do happen, but the more experience that you gain, the better off you're going to be. I want to show you some of my pickups too and kind of explain my thought processes on these pickups, because I think it may be a little bit different than everything that you may have heard here on other channels. And by all means, check out other channels as well, because everyone who went to the national is going to have a different experience, regardless of, of their collecting abilities and their financial stakes as well. So here we go. Okay, I'm going to show you some of my raw pickups before I show you the graded stuff. And this right here is really cool. Victor, the rookie card specialist, had a number of these. And Victor, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. He actually did a four-part series on the National, and you guys can go check out what he has to say about the National. Uh, I really enjoyed it, to tell you the truth. But I've had Victor on my channel a couple of times, and I would love to get his take on other aspects too. At some point, Bobby Burrell, and I have got to get together at some point and just chat about cards and stuff because I have a really, I think, a better time just listening to those two guys, and just kind of standing to the side and hearing what they have to say on my own channel, than I do kind of like interviewing these guys. But this was really great, and he did autograph it too. And yeah, I really enjoy this. Go and pick up his book. It may be something that you probably didn't know that you needed in your collection. So this is a great promotional thing, and I know uh, John Wade Boggs fan also had a card as well, and unfortunately, like I only got to see John for a split second, so I wasn't able to pick up the cards that he was handing out too. But yeah, this is really fantastic. So Victor, thanks again. I really appreciate that. And another card. So I didn't know that I needed a 1954 Bowman Gil Hodges in my collection until I saw this particular card. This is absolutely lightning. This is so cool. I'm a big fan of Gil Hodges anyway, and it was a long time in the making for him to get in the Hall of Fame. He passed away very young. I believe he was 47 years old. He had just had his second heart attack in 1972. I think he had his first in like 1971 during the All-Star game. And I think that was due to two things. He was a combat veteran from World War II, and he was a chain smoker. He smoked like crazy. He smoked the way that I collect baseball cards, uh, a lot. So, I think obviously, like drinking a lot and eating a lot of red meat and smoking uh, from like 8 a.m. till like 9 and at night is not good for your health, obviously. But they knew about that kind of stuff back in the 1950s too. So no excuse there. And anyway, different story, I guess, altogether. But I saw this, and I absolutely had to pick it up. And I have the Duke Snyder in this set, and I love the Duke Snyder. And I may actually go after the Pee Wee Reese too. I'm not entirely sure. But this is just absolutely fantastic card of a player who should have gotten in the Hall of Fame 30 or 40 years ago. But I was really glad that his wife was still alive when he was posthumously inducted into the Hall of Fame. So I'll probably do a video on Gil at some point in time. But I'll show you the back of this. And uh, this set is kind of growing on me. I never really liked it all that much until quite recently. So I guess it depends on the player and the card, but I really enjoy this. And then I also was able to acquire the 56 Tops Larry Doby. I really like the 56 Tops. It's a great design. A lot of people like the 1955 Tops, which is another classic design too. I think when you think of the 1950s, what do you think of? For me, it's the music, it's the cars, it's the design, the mid-century modern design, and it's also the baseball cards. And the 1955, I think, is representing the decade very, very well. Um, I really still enjoy the 56 design. It's different, obviously, but again, there's more players, and Larry Doby is really interesting because he had all the same things happen to him that happened to Jackie Robinson, which I do have a card of Jackie right here. So both these guys uh, obviously are the first in their leagues. Jackie Robinson being the first in the National League, and Larry here being the first in the American. And Jackie had Pee Wee Reese, and Larry Doby had Flash Gordon, and I think even Steve Gromek. And he also had uh, Floyd Archie Vaughn helping him out. And funny thing about Jackie Robinson here, because his cards are so expensive, it's ridiculous. I used to be able to pick up Jackie Robinson's cards very cheaply. In fact, his 49 Bowman that I picked up at the 2004 National only set me back, I want to say $175. Um, and then his 1956 tops, I was able to pick up for like $60, and I foolishly sold it for what 130. But at the time, back in like the uh, early 2000s, I'd say up to like 2010 or so, or probably past that, you could pick up Jackie Robinson's cards very cheaply and not think about it and then sell it. And you could, my thinking at the time was that because I can pick up a Jackie Robinson card anytime, I can also sell it at any time and I'd still be able to afford Jackie Robinson's cards. Well, fast forward 15 years and he's almost becoming unaffordable. And so I picked this card up last year. Actually, no, I picked it up earlier this year. My bad. And this card I've never been able to own, and my buddy had it, and he's like, "You don't want to give it to you at a reasonable price." What is reasonable when it comes to Jackie Robinson compared to Larry Doby? Because you can pick up Larry Doby's cards right now and not think twice about it, except for his rookie card, which is a what, 48 leaf or 49 leaf and a 1949 Bowman, which again, uh, those two cards are really really expensive. But he's not going to break the bank as Jackie Robinson will, and these guys both I think had the same issues going on, and so there are even guys on his own team here that wouldn't refuse to play with him, but they weren't as outspoken as Jackie Robinson's teammates were, and so we don't really hear a whole lot about Larry Doby's issues in the American League as we do with Jackie Robinson. And again, um, most of his cards are not going to break the bank. I think one of my favorites of his is his 1954 tops, which is a little on the expensive side. The 50 and 51 Bowman, uh, fantastic cards. People really seem to love those two particular cards. I'm not sure in order, but his 52 Bowman is also a fantastic card as well. And then there's a lot of people who like his 52 tops, which I do not like that card. But um, this is the same image that you'll see on the 54 tops. Um, it's actually cheaper. So I had to pick this card up just because I also like the design. And this is fantastic. One thing that I've noticed is this right here. I think in 1956, the C you had the C with the Indian inside of it. Here you don't. And then I'll show you another card that I picked up from the same set, and it is the early win here, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about here with the C with the Indian here. But this was another card that wasn't really on my radar until quite recently, and I'm like, I gotta have that card. Early win, his rookie cards in the 50, nope, in the 49 Bowman. I was going to say 50, but 49 Bowman early win. I picked that card up for like 20 bucks like 30 years ago. And I really haven't seen it in a long time, so I'll have to dig it out. He's got a lot of great cards out there, and he's the 1959 American League Cy Young Award winner, I believe. Check me on that in the comment section below. But he's on the 1959 Chicago White Sox Go-Go Sox that went to the World Series, and I actually like that team better than the winners of the World Series, which were the L.A. Dodgers. And so a lot of people remember the teams that won the World Series, but the 1959 Go-Go Sox were so popular, and they're still so popular that a lot of people they really kind of gravitate towards those players on that team. And so he was one of them. And I I'm trying to think of a few cards that I really like of his that I actually own, and I'm thinking like 1953 Bowman, which is a fantastic card, and the 54 Bowman as well. I'm not sure if I actually have that card. It's been a while. I'll have to see. And then obviously his rookie card and the 51 Bowman is really fantastic, and I still have to get that. I have to find it autographed, but I'll show you the back of this. It looks like this. So really, really neat set. And then uh, another card I wasn't really expecting is the 1933 Tattoo Orbit. This is Ernie Lombardi, and I believe he was a posthumous member of the Hall of Fame in 1977. You check me again on that. I seem to think that that's the year he got inducted. He was, I think, one of the slowest guys to get an MVP, I believe, in 1938. Um, he he's kind of an interesting guy. He was first he came up with the Brooklyn Dodgers, and then they traded him to the Cincinnati Reds. I don't exactly know how many cards he's on. I think that he is kind of an underrated catcher, uh, but a lot of those Cincinnati Reds teams, uh, they're kind of like a powerhouse, and they did go to the World Series in like 1939 and 40. They lost obviously to the Yankees in 1939, and they won in 1940. Uh, but getting back to the 1933 Tattoo Orbit here, these were always expensive cards, even back in the 1970s. Commons back then were going for about $10 a piece, which is really, really expensive. Um, and so, like, you don't really see a whole lot of them today. There's a ton of Hall of Famers in this particular set, and there's a few short prints as well. I'm probably going to do a I guess an article on this set, so I don't want to say a whole lot about it until my article is published. But I'll show you the back, and one thing about these cards, you do have to be kind of careful with them because they are paper thin. And their roots actually go back to Chicago. The company, not so much. It does have Springfield, Massachusetts roots, and they also have roots in Wrigley chewing gum. Yeah. So this was a really interesting card. They are still kind of expensive, but they to me they scream Great Depression. Another card that I've been looking for forever is Duke Snider's 1953 Bowman. I knew Duke quite well. I got to meet him in person after doing some artwork for him, and I met him at the Shriners show with some artwork that I had for him. And we didn't talk about baseball for like half an hour. We talked about everything, including his military service, being in a submarine. I think he said he was a like a dishwasher or something like that, a cook on board a submarine, and he didn't see a whole lot of action in the South Pacific there, but he said sometimes every once in a while, it could get kind of dicey. But that's what happens when you join the military. You never know what's going to happen, from second to second. And even being in a submarine back then, like forget about it. You couldn't pay me enough money to be in the sub in World War II or anytime really. I'm just not I'm a land lover, not a seagoing collector. So um, this is a very popular card. I actually picked this up for I believe $60, and it does have its issues, which is why I got it for such a discounted rate. The corners are not the greatest. Um, that corner especially here, but I also think there's like a little X right there too. But at the end of the day, it is Duke Snider, one of the greatest center fielders in New York. You got three of the greatest center fielders in the 1950s playing in New York. You got Willie Mays, you got Duke Snider, and you have uh, Mickey Mantle as well. And so uh, I uh, I really enjoy the 1953 uh, Bowman color here. Even the black and white can look really nice too. I think I want to say that the black and white were issued because they ran out of like ink, or it was just so expensive to actually produce these cards. And there was an article done back in 1983 by Ted Kazandis, uh, who did a lot of research into this set. So the company went from Gum Inc. To Bowman Gum Inc. in 1944 to Haleen Laboratories. And Haleen, I'm still trying to figure out if that was an independent company or it changed its name. And then I want to say that um, during the sale of Bowman, that Haleen, I think it was an independent company, but I have to double check that they kept the Bowman name, and then they tried their mightiest to hang on, and that didn't really happen. But uh, this again was a really great card, and the price was right, and it kind of goes to show you that even if you're at the National, you don't have to spend a lot of money on good, nice vintage cards. Some cards, they could be expensive, like this Eddie Matthews here. Um, that you can pick up in lower grades, and everything would be okay. And sometimes that's the best, actually. It just depends on how much you want to pay, There was a 1909 T206 Eddie Plank that was selling for $350,000, as you guys can see here. That is amazing. First off, um, I saw it in a regular. It was in a bunch of other cards, and one of the problems, which I hate to even talk about here, was that before I get to Mr. Matthews, uh, there was a guy and his looked like his teenage son lifted a $15,000 Patrick Mahomes card, and I mean the authorities are still looking, but that that convention had a lot of security around certain booths, and I understand that, and a lot of video film footage of what was going on, a lot of cameras, but cameras don't really stop thieves finding out what happened in a certain case. Like this kid and his father, his father was lifted the card, and the kid was right there, and obviously, Dad of the Year award, right? But it doesn't prevent, I think, most people from stealing cards. So it may help an investigation, but at the end of the day, authorities still need to, law enforcement still needs to track down the card, and that has its issues as well. Even if you do, get the cards back. And I've gone over that. But getting back to Eddie Matthews here, I really wanted a 1953 Topps Eddie Matthews, and I was also looking at a 53 Bowman Eddie Matthews, and I was actually persuaded to to get this card instead. And this was not expensive. It does have a few creases, hairline creases going through it, but for the price that I paid compared to what it actually goes for, I'm not sure if you can see some of those creases. It's still a really, really great card of a player that he's kind of overshadowed, I think, especially by Hank Aaron. But uh, the artwork is absolutely phenomenal on this card and in this set. And it is just a card that I've been looking for forever. And I have just a nice selection of Hall of Famers in this set. And for me, it's the artwork. It really is. Um, but I was also looking for a Satchel Paige in the 53 top set. That card is not it's not rare. It's expensive, but it's not rare. And it's a nice card too. Maybe next year, I'm not sure. You can pick up that card fairly easily. It's just the expense is going to get you. This card has gotten a little bit more expensive. The Bowman in the 53 as well can set you back. But one thing I really kind of don't like about this set, and it's just maybe just me being a nitpicky bastard, if you will, is the autograph on the back here. Kind of detracts because I want to see what the bio is talking about here, and the autograph kind of gets in the way of that. Maybe that's just me. I don't know, but um, I am very happy that I did pick up this particular card. So that will go in my 53 set. And then let's see. Oh yeah. So um, the 1950 Bowman Yogi Berra. I have wanted this card since I was a little kid. Well before I was a vintage collector, I had seen this particular card, and I was like, I really like this. I think it's taken in spring training somewhere. I'll have to figure that out. This can be a very expensive card. I didn't pay I didn't pay a lot for it. I think maybe less than the market price now, but it does have a few issues here. It's not, as you can see in the corners, it's not it's not near mint, but then again, there's certain cards that you just can't afford near mint, and so you have to get what you can with the money that you have, and that's different for everybody. So I definitely understand that. There's certain cards that you probably don't want, even if they're very, very expensive, just because it's more hassle to obtain a certain card because it's so expensive. Trying to sell a card that is expensive, the more expensive the card is, the less chances that you're going to have uh, to find somebody who has the finances other than an auction. So um, I was very happy with this, and I'm a really huge fan of Yogi Berra. I've done 2 videos on Yogi. There may be more in the future. I don't know, but this is a kind of I hate to say the word grail, but it is a card that I've wanted to add since I was a little kid, and now an owner of a 50 Bowman Yogi. My favorite Yogi Berra card is the 53 Tops, and the 53 Bowman is really great. And you know, he's got so many great cards out there. It's really tough. The 51 Bowman has gone up in price substantially over the last number of years, as his early cards. But again, you're looking at somebody who is a national hero too, and somebody who transcends baseball. So another guy that I knew quite well was Monty Irvin, and I've never been able to acquire his Bowman rookie. He's got a 1951 Topps rookie, which um, it's nice. Uh, I think actually I like it better than this card because, quite frankly, this is not a flattering photo. It makes him look like a fat ass. I hate to say that, but I have been looking for this card for a long time, and it has gone up in price substantially over the last 10, 15 years or so. And I'm a fan of Monty Irvin. I know him quite well over the years when he was alive. And I'll keep our conversations between he and I, even though he's passed away. I want to kind of respect what he used to tell me because they were not baseball related. But in the event, um, this card has gone up quite a bit, and he he didn't have a very long career in the National League. Um, he started in the late 1930s with the Negro Leagues. I if if someone was going to do a biography or biopic on him in a movie, I would definitely want to see that. It is expensive. Shit, I think I paid $200 for this. Yeah, which is kind of expensive. But it's actually a little bit more. It can be a little bit more expensive. But he's got a really fascinating story because he had a tryout with the Red Sox, and when he came out of the service in 1945, and that was a disaster, to tell you the truth, because this gentleman also had a tryout with the Red Sox, along with like a along with a few other ball players. But that Red Sox tryout was only because the Boston City Council threatened them that if they didn't have a tryout, then they weren't going to be playing games and Sundays where they made their most money. So another New England guy really is Harold Pie Trainer, and this is a card that I've wanted forever, and it's just it can be such hit or miss with the condition of this card that I had to take the card when and where I could find it, and it is expensive too. Uh, a lot of these Hall of Famers in the 33 Gaudi set are more expensive than you would realize, and Pie Trainer is probably the best third baseman of his era. You got Pie Trainer, and then you got Brooks Robinson, and I do have his 1934 Diamond Stars, but I was never able to acquire this card until I just happened to have seen the card in a case and inquired about it, and the guy gave me a very fair price. It's not perfect. I mean, if I'm like in my 90s or whatever, I think this card is like 94, something like that. Anyway, yeah, me and math, we don't really see eye to eye. But if I'm in my 90s, I'm gonna have a couple of creases too, and I'm not gonna look as pretty as this card. Um, so I'm gonna do a video on Pie Trainer, but I couldn't say no. Obviously, the dealer made me an offer that I couldn't refuse, and so Pie Trainer is just a really really interesting ball player, and I'm definitely gonna do a video on him because you're gonna be surprised about some of the things that Pie Trainer did and said um, when he was a player and as a manager. Um, and so, another player that you really don't hear a whole lot of these days is Billy Herman. Obviously, a Hall of Famer for the Cubs, and he during World War II he was a lieutenant commander in the Navy. Um, but at this point in time, I believe this is one of his earliest cards. I don't think it's his rookie. I think his rookie is a 1932 Cubs team issue, but I could double check on that. This is just a card that I've always wanted, and it's again, it's got a few issues here. It's not perfect, but it's got character. Can we just call it character? And so, I got this at a very reasonable price, and I'm sorry that this doesn't want to pick up the detail on some of these cards, which is too bad here. But I I really like this card. I picked up a Billy Herman Tattoo Orbit last year at the National, and I wonder if I actually Now that I think about it, I think I had more monumental pickups last year than I did at this show, which is fine because you never know what you're going to come across at a show, and a lot of cards kind of like slip through the cracks just because of the money. The one that I was really kind of shocked at purchasing was this card right here, and I did so because again, a buddy of mine, Bob, he had got this card at auction, and it was near mint condition, far better than my copy here. But he was telling me about Bill Terry, and Bill Terry's got a really interesting story. First, he was, I believe, the captain of the New York Giants, and I think the player manager. And not only that, he's the last guy in the the last guy in the National League to hit 401 in 1930, and he after his career, I believe he retired in 1937, and he was in a few World Series, but he was also on the Veterans Committee along with Frankie Frisch, and both those guys allowed or peer pressured a lot of other Veterans Committee members to elect at least seven ball players who just absolutely had no business being in the Hall of Fame. They were all quote unquote friends of Frankie Frisch, and Frankie Frisch deservedly was a Hall of Famer, and so is Bill Terry. But they allowed a number of guys to get in the Hall of Fame back in, I believe, in like between 1968 and 1973. And once it was discovered what they were doing, and they were both, I believe, kicked out of the Veterans Committee, along with Fred Lieb, who was one of the leading sports writers of the 20th century. And so, um, notwithstanding that, he is a very well deserving Hall of Famer, and he's got a really nice 1934 Diamond Stars. Uh, Absolutely fantastic card. I've owned that copy for years and years, but I've never owned another copy of a Bill Terry card, and I really kind of got this because um, of its connection to my friend Bob, who really enjoyed his copy of it, and so I remember that time when he bought his copy, and I was like, you know what, I might as well grab this particular card. So that is a for me, it's a memory. So another player that may or may not uh, deserve Hall of Fame consideration is Fred Lindstrom. I did a video on Fred Lindstrom because he's got one of the rarest cards of the 20th century, the 1932 U.S. Caramel, and so you guys can check out the video at your own leisure. But in doing research on Fred Lundstrom here, I didn't know a whole lot about him. I knew the name, but he was a he was a very good player during his time. Um, I think the jury's still out whether or not he actually should be in the Hall. Obviously, no one's going to be taking anybody's plaque down just because they think that they're not deserving to be Hall of Famers. You have to look at it this way, in that um, during the time in which they played, which really nobody alive now has actually seen any of these guys play, uh, what was their standing in baseball? Kind of like Ray Schalk, if you think about it. Uh, Ray Schalk has got the lowest batting average of any ball player in the Hall of Fame as a catcher, even in the dead ball era. But he was a very decent he was a decent defensive ball player, but he also carried a lot of clout too in Major League Baseball at the time in which he was alive, and then even after his playing career ended, I believe in 1930, he still carried a lot of weight, and so he may have gotten in the Hall of Fame on his his connections to the press, and so that may also be the case with a few other ball players. I'm not entirely sure. Fred Lindstrom played on the Giants along with Bill Terry there, and so uh, it could be that Fred Lindstrom is in the Hall of Fame because of Frankie Frisch and Bill Terry. So I really wanted, actually, I really wanted a 1933 Dean Long, Fred Lindstrom, which I still want, but sometimes you have to kind of pick a card of a player, just so you have the player, and then you can do whatever you want afterwards if you actually see the card that you want. So in the meantime, I have this Fred Lindstrom just so I can have a card of Fred Lindstrom's. And then another card that I really didn't know that I wanted. I mean, I did know I wanted at least one of these. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to afford uh, one of these cards. And in fact, I have two of them that I picked up at the National for the first time. I've never actually owned a copy of the 1911 C55s, but both of these are teams uh, that are very, I guess they're very popular, very historic teams. One is the Wanderers, as you can see here, Jack Marshall from the Wanderers. Uh, these cards are really beautiful, and again, I've never owned any, so this has a little bit of damage in the back, but I didn't pay a whole lot for them. Usually, even commons can be quite expensive, and so I I just said, okay, like, the guy wanted like 300 bucks for, you know, for the pair. And, I mean, I was like, oh my God, that's so expensive. But I had to make a choice, like, sometimes, like, you just have to pick up a card and forget about the price. It just depends on how badly you want the card or the player. And for me, it's all about the artwork and it's all about the history. And so I was like, yeah, okay, I'm making a compromise here. I don't know if these cards are going to go up in value. I checked to see if they were trimmed. They're not trimmed. There's an easy way to find out whether or not your card is trimmed just by lining up the sides of the borders, and then doing the smell check, and then if you have a gram scale, and then on top of it too. For these particular cards, I do recommend that you look them over um, with a digital microscope because there are telltale signs that uh, you cannot replicate with a modern card, a modern reprint. You just can't replicate certain details that you're going to see inside of a C55 here or even T206. Uh, so, as good as modern printing is, there's certain things about modern printing that is just too good um, for a a um, a vintage. There's certain things you guys know what I'm talking about, hopefully. But I really love the artwork and I love the era in which these cards came from. So I really had to put up or shut up, if you will. Right? I've always wanted to own at least one copy in my collection before I go on to the card collectors convention in the sky at some point in time, hopefully in the next 4 decades or so. But um, I just wanted to own a couple of copies, and then I definitely want to do some research into these and do an article or two or three. So uh, that's pretty much it for these. And you'll notice the number down here. And again, like I did see, I forget what the 1909 or 1910 versions. Uh, are they C55s? Like I'm not or C53. I forget. I never see those either. So anyway, one card I definitely see quite often is the 59 Willie Mays. But what's interesting is like I was actually looking for a Hank Aaron in the 59 because I really like that card. I'm a fan of Willie Mays. I have a lot of his cards, but I wasn't kind of like expecting to purchase this card. And one thing about the 59s, they made so many 59s. It's just disgusting. But um, what will happen a lot of times is this card will be off center quite a bit. So you're really looking at centering with this card. It's not particularly rare. It is a little expensive. This card was not expensive at all. I think it cost me like $100. For Willie Mays, that's not bad. In the 1950s, toward the 1960s, you can get him like really cheap. But he had like a long 24-year career. And so uh, I just said, you know what, this is a great looking card. I'll just add it to my collection. And so thank you very much to the dealer. He was not the easiest to do business with. I'll just tell you right off the bat, there were um, there were dealers who really didn't want to move their cards. I always kind of assumed, and maybe this is just me, that um, if you were a dealer at a show, your intention was to sell cards. Who knew, right? I know I'm being a little facetious here, but uh, there are some dealers that just they price their cards way too high, um, and it didn't seem like they wanted to sell their cards. No, if that's the case, that's fine. Like you can price your card at any price that you want, and you give it any sticker price you want. But that doesn't mean that you're going to sell your card. Now, if you don't want to sell your card, don't um, don't have it at a show. Leave it home. So, and I understand too from a dealer's perspective. I um, they might have a lot of money invested in that card to begin with, but there lies kind of the problem too, where if you're actually overspending for a card, you can't expect other people to have sympathy for you because you're not going to budge on the price, and sometimes the price is the price, and that may be the case where you're like, okay, fine, but it depends on the card being rare, right? Whatever it is, or a card that you might need for the completion of your set, whatever the set that may be. And so I came across this Roberto Clemente here, and this is a very, very nice example. One thing that I used to be very not scared about, but very wary about was the corners, and I got burned when I was a kid with a Nolan Ryan in this set because I don't know if the dealer did it, so I can't pinpoint the dealer, but um, a lot of times you'd see like Sharpies, black Sharpies on the corners, um, they'd fill it in and make it nice and neat and presentable. So you can use a black light to pick that up, the Sharpie itself. And so I kind of rather have a card that has a little bit of corner wear on it. Kind of tells me that the card hasn't been touched up. And so the Roberto Clemente here is, I want to say it's one of the more expensive cards in the 71 set. It's a very popular set. It was back then, it is now. And the difference between the Topps version and the OPC is that I don't think it's true with all, but some cards will have the player's face in the middle, and I think also in French and English. But I've seen maybe like one or two of those, the OPCs, and so this isn't one of them. I would have loved that, but this one kind of set me back a little bit, like $130, which is rather expensive. I'm not gonna lie, but it could be worse because I've seen some very expensive copies, and I was just very happy to actually acquire this particular card. Again, like I'm going through a number of his cards. I don't think I'm gonna go through a complete run because I don't like that rookie card of his. But this was on my list, so it is great. And I'm sorry about the blurriness here, guys. This camera does not like to pick up sports cards the way I do. So another card that I had on my list here was the 57 Eddie Matthews. I think I only need one more for a Hall of Fame run of the 57s. I have every card except for White Wilhelm. And Yogi. I'm sorry, Yogi Berra as well. I don't have Yogi Berra's card, which is something that I'll have to rectify at some point. But I did pick this up, and 57. It's the first year of standard size for tops at least, and I really kind of like the 57s. It is kind of a historic set, to tell you the truth. And this is not a bad copy. It's quite nice, in fact. So nice that I had to pick up another 57. Obviously, not a Hall of Famer. He should be in the Hall of Fame. This is Austin Howard. His rookie cards in the 55 Bowman. Um, this though, I did see a copy here back home, and it was just really, really expensive. So when I was walking the floor, I saw this for like 15 bucks. The guy said 10 bucks, and I was like, here you go. Here's the cash. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I do because Elston Howard is a really, really solid player. Uh, I believe he won the 1963 MVP from the AL. I'll have to double check. I definitely want to do a video on him, a standalone video. Um, Really, really great set, and this is a fantastic card. Uh, and obviously, it looks like he's in he's in Yankee Stadium, just judging by the background here. So I'm very happy with that particular card. Another card that I picked up was the Tom Gola rookie. In fact, I didn't actually pick this up at the National. What happened was I picked up the Frank Ramsey here for 25 bucks. This is his rookie. And I did see this particular card, and I did see the Arnie Rison as well. There was a number of these cards, but they were very expensive. So um, I was really confused as to why the dealer had the Frank Ramsey for 25 bucks. Now, the one thing that you'll notice with all three of these is that the centering is god awful. On all three of these, it's from left to right 90-10. And it's kind of interesting that usually with the 57 tops basketball, you're going to see centering from the top to bottom. Usually the it looks like it's trimmed from the top to the bottom, and it's not. All you have to do is line up the card here, and you'll see that it's not trimmed. But a lot of these cards look like they're trimmed, and they're just not. But I um I really enjoy the set, and one thing that I really kind of decided was that I was going to try my darndest to complete the set. I'll probably be 90 years old before the time that happens. But in the meantime, I wanted to try to grab as many Hall of Famers from this set as I could. And I think that I am like two or three away from completion. The Bill Russell is, I think I have a better chance at getting a date with a supermodel than I do getting that card. But then again, like I don't really want to date a supermodel. That I think that would suck, especially going on a date with one. Like you go to a nice restaurant and she just eats a pea and she's done. That's a different story altogether, I think. But anyway, you guys kind of understand what I'm talking about here with these particular cards. Uh, they're kind of tricky, but there's a lot of Hall of Famers in this 57 uh, Topps basketball set, and the design is really great. It is 1950s, so kudos to Topps for this. And then the 1963 Flair Joe Adcock. Uh, this is a short print card. I'm definitely going to do a video on this particular card, and I'm thinking of doing an article or maybe even like a small book uh, on the 63 Flair because uh, he was traded at some point, and the card was pulled from production. Also, uh, Topps sued Flair, or Flair sued Topps and took him to the Federal Trade Commission in 1962. There was an injunction put in place and an investigation. And I was actually thinking of reading from that investigation from 1965. And it's just an amazing 112-page document that in itself like definitely deserves mention. And so there's just so much investigative an investigative journey, if you will, that the Federal Trade Commission dove into the contracts of Topps versus Flair, and this is a very historic set. It's only at 66 cards. There actually was supposed to be another series, but it was ended, and so like I kind of wonder who else was going to be in that second series. And so there's just so much going on with this particular set that the Joe Adcock. Um, I've wanted a copy for a very long time. One of the things that you kind of have to worry about with this or be aware of is the centering on these cards. This one, um, it's centered okay. From my liking, it's fine, but um, the thing that is kind of worrisome here is that the diamond here that can look like it's sliding off the page, and then on the back of these cards, the green here can also be sun faded as well. So just be on the lookout for that, and then the centering as well. But I have some really interesting memories of first seeing this set when I was a teenager. I think I was like 12 or 13 years old, and um, walking into a card shop, and it was actually, interestingly enough, you know, I did very well in school up until that point, and which is the reason why my grandmother took me in a card shop because I didn't get into any trouble for a week. So I saw these in the case, and I was like, "Wow, what are those? Like I've never seen those before." And I had a nice discussion with the owner of the shop, and it was actually my first experience with economics. I learned economics through the 1963 Flair set, which I never forgot. And so, at some point in time, I'll tell you guys about that. Another card that I've been looking for, which is on my radar, was the Bob Waterfield, and this was $50. And Bob Waterfield, Hall of Famer and quarterback. I think at one point in time, the Rams they moved from Cleveland to Los Angeles in 1945 after the 45 championship, which they won. Um, they moved to Los Angeles. He was married to Jane Russell. Uh, Really, she was the brunette version of Marilyn Monroe. So, you know, good job there, right? Awesome, awesome job. So, um, I do have other cards of his. The 51 Bowman is quite nice. His rookie is in the 48 Leaf and the 48 Bowman, but his 40, no, his 50 is not the nicest. I have that. His 52 Bowman large is quite nice. And I think he retired in 1952. So I didn't actually ever have this particular card. So I was like, you know what? Bob Waterfield's just a great player, Hall of Famer. I might as well add this to my run, and so it was something that I had to stop and think about a couple of times. Circled like a vulture to see if this guy would actually give me a good deal. And initially he had it at 60, so he had it at 60, and then he said 55, and I'm like, how's 50? Because I don't want to, like I don't want to break another, you know, whatever it was. So I didn't want to break any more cash, So anyway, another card that I really wanted to add that was very cheap was the Bobby Thompson. Set me back all of 18 bucks, and I probably could have gotten 15, but 18 was fine. I knew Bobby Thompson for a long time, and I really wanted to add this particular card because I love the artwork here and what's going on, and so he's really, I think, more well known for his home run uh, to get into the World Series in 1951. They've never found that ball, by the way, and I don't think they ever will. But I really wanted to add this to my collection. And finally, for the Raw is the 1950 Bowman Autogram rookie, and I I I had some issues actually justifying the price of this card. It was quite expensive, but deep down inside, I knew that I wanted to try to complete the set. Uh, Mostly because my father was born in 1950, and in a way, I want to kind of honor him by trying to complete the set. And so, he loved football too. So, uh, you know, I really wanted to add, again, this was like the biggest hurdle uh, for me to complete the set. And now I can just go after the commons, and who knows what's going to happen with that. But this is a really great copy, and for the most part, I think most collectors probably would not buy this card raw. Although I know these cards like the back of my hand, so it was fine. Um, and so I really didn't have much of a problem with that. Um, Usually just all it takes is just to study what you're going after, and the pros and the cons. So I'm very happy with this card, and now it just leaves me open to completing the set. All right, so here we go. This is probably the biggest card that I purchased, and yeah, I'll tell you something really interesting about this card. Way back in the day, when I was going to college, I had actually purchased the majority of this set, and I sold it to go to college. And I kept one card, and that was the Bill, yeah, that was the Bob Cousy. And so there was no way that I was ever going to part with a Bob Cousy card, especially being in Boston. So I sold that set, and I was able to have really no debt after college because I paid for my education through sports cards. And uh, years and years later, I ended up picking up this particular card. Now, what's interesting is that back in 2007, I paid 200 bucks for this card. And the guy had, I thought it was a joke at first, but the guy had this card here as well. And he had it for 175 bucks. Now, I kind of had a choice to make, and actually I had a third option. So initially my choice was this card or this card, and I chose this card for 200. Now, my regret was that um, this card was still there. It's not like I didn't have the money or I couldn't have pulled the money for this card, which I certainly could have, and I left it behind. And I've always regretted that because I've never been able to acquire this particular card. And so there were a few other cards in the set I had to go back and repurchase all the cards that I sold from this particular set. So I purchased this card right here, the Bill Russell. I do not like the regular Bill Russell card at all. I will buy it just because it's Bill Russell and because I knew Bill Russell and I had some very interesting conversations with him. But for the most part, I really don't like that card. Um, I just wanted something of Bill Russell's, and this was it. So the last national, I was able to pick up this Oscar Robinson by selling the 1954 Topps Al Kaline for the second time. Actually, it was the first time. Yeah, it was the first time. I bought that card like twice, and I've always had problems with the Al Kaline rookie. So I sold that and I was able to pick up this particular card, and so now I'm all set, and I'm gonna try to go for the entire set essentially. Um, so this was more of a redemption than anything. Picking up this card, and it was expensive, and I'm gonna show you how much I paid for it. That's a lot of money, as you guys can see. That's a ton of money. And normally it's extremely hard to justify that kind of money for one particular card, especially for a guy who, for years and years and years, I would not budge off of $200 per card. But that also hurt me too because I went through a lot of cards that now would normally be or they're off the table for the majority of people, like a 1934 Gaudi number 37 Lou Gehrig, which I could have bought for $600 in 2001, or a 1939 play ball Ted Williams, which I could have bought for $400. And this is really kind of like where for me, it's difficult. The price is being paid and sought now because I remember when a time where you could actually buy a Wilt Chamberlain rookie card for under 500, and obviously I just told you guys I paid $200 for this card. Money is relative, really. You know, it could be expensive at the time, and then when you look back and see what the inflation rate is and adjust that to how much that people were making per hour, um, it's all, it's all kind of relative. But uh, in the back of my mind, it's more like it was easier to pick up cards like this back in the 90s and 80s and early 2000s than it is now. So I kind of like keep that in the back of my head. And then really quickly, this card right here, Tony Lazzuri, uh, it's good. The mark is actually right here. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's right below the L. And this is a very, very difficult card and it's in the first portion or the first series of the 33 Gaudi, meaning the stock was very soft and inferior, and so a lot of these cards have a lot of problems. Particularly this card, and I'm not entirely sure where it is on the sheet. I'll have to double check that. But I'm I'm trying to finish a an article on Tony Lazzuri's life. I find it very, very fascinating. And so he's got a very interesting and fascinating story that I want to share. And I've been looking for this card forever, and I mean forever, since I was a little kid. Uh, and it just kind of, it was at the right price, at the right place, at the right time. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously I didn't pay that price, as you guys can see there. I didn't pay that. So another card that I want to share with you guys today is this Josh Devori, and he was actually a very good ball player. And I really wanted this example here. It's really cool. I love the artwork, and I can't imagine playing with a baseball bat like that, but they did. I, obviously, he's got a warm up jersey, which is really neat. And then the back of it right here, I believe it's a later series, probably like 1910. So I have to figure that out. But the picked that up. And then another hockey. Hockey's very it's a weird animal in the hobby because it's very addictive. And the Glenn Hall rookie here, I've been looking for forever. This used to be a very, very expensive card. I think it still is. I paid quite a bit for it. Um, and for me, it's not really about the money. It's about the memories of when I was a kid looking at this card for the first time. And so it's classic. It's uh, the one of the best hockey cards of the 1950s in a really great set, 1957-58 tops. One thing you want to keep in mind is that a lot of these cards can be trimmed, and in particular this card, you can find a lot of snow on this particular card here. So just be careful when you're looking at this card. But I'm very happy that I grabbed this. So the another card that I picked up was the Harold Hilton here. He's a Hall of Famer in golf. And this is 1901. There's a lot of really great golfers in this set. Harry Vardon is in this set. John H. Taylor as well. And so I think Balfour, is it Ed Balfour or Harry Balfour? One of those guys. So um, these cards, they're blank backed. And so you'll find a lot of sporting personalities and celebrities in this particular set. So you might want to check this out. But he's a Hall of Famer, and I really wanted the 1911 T218, but I couldn't find one. So this is very acceptable. So another card that I was looking for a long time is the 1913 national game, Connie Mack. Connie Mack really is somebody who he started out really with nothing. He was co-owner of the A's up until I believe 1925 or 22, and then he owned the team outright, buying out the original owner, which was Ben Scheib. I think Ben Scheib had passed away, I want to say in like 1913 or something like that. But he had like a 50 or 60-year career in baseball. I think at least 60 years. But I wanted something from him from his early days. He does have a lot of cards out there, but this is the one I really wanted outside of his 1933 Tattoo Orbit, which I did see one there, but it was just outstandingly expensive. So I picked this up right here. And I do have a number of these cards, and this might be a good opportunity if you can find these to pick up some cheaper Hall of Famers or Hall of Famers that are cheaper than picking up their T206s or T205s. So that is an option. And then another card here is the 53 Yogi Berra 53 Bowman. I had this card when I was a kid. I sold it at the 2004 National and I regretted it. So a lot of these pickups are actually they're re-pickups, if you will, reacquirements of cards that I had at one point in time, like the Charlie Haphill. Let's try that one again. This was actually the first T206 that I ever bought when I was a teenager. I bought it for $5. I paid a lot more than $5 for this card now, but it was something I saw at the National, and I I didn't want to spend the $240 that the dealer had, so I went home and I repurchased this card, and I really like this card too. But I've had both of these cards, and a lot of the cards that I'm having to reacquire now that I sold when I was going to college. So I'll show you the back of that, and I'll show you the back of this. And obviously, like Yogi Berra is one of my all-time favorite players. So this is probably one of his greatest images, actually, just of him chilling out in the dugout. And I wonder what he's looking at, to tell you the truth. I also want to know who actually took the photograph too. Maybe I'll never know. I'll have to double check. But it is just one of my favorite Yogi Berra cards, and it's a reacquisition. And then lastly is the 1933 Gowdy Ehrlich Holmes. He was the captain of the team at one point in time, and then I believe what happened was in 1935 he cracked his skull. I think going after a fly ball and ended his career. But he's also a member of the 1927 Murderers Row, and this is a card that I really wanted. I actually do have a Ehrlich Holmes in the 1929 cash-in photos, but I wanted a regular card, so this was it. And this was actually a very nice example. So, guys, I'm gonna leave it here, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below. Let me know if you actually went to the National, what your pickups were, what your favorite cards were. If there's any cards here that you really enjoy, let me know too, or the players. And I really want to hear your stories of the National. And until the next time, guys, I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye.